today's video is going to be on using this unit circle to find different trig ratios. So we're going to go ahead and start with number 1. We've got the sine of 45 degrees. Remember about our discussion with the unit circle that sine is representing the y coordinate. And this is telling me where to look on my unit circle. So if I look at my unit circle, I find 45 right here. Here's all of my information on 45 degrees. So if I'm looking at 45, the y coordinate, the second coordinate right here, is going to be root 2 over 2. Again, you can see that we are looking at the y coordinate of 45 degrees on the unit circle. Our next one, we have cosine. Cosine says I'm looking at the x coordinate, and I'm looking at pi over 6. So again, we're going to go back to our unit circle. Here's pi over 6. So I'm looking at pi over 6. This is my pi over 6 location. Because it's cosine, I want the x coordinate there. So this is going to be root 3 over 2. Next we have tangent. As a reminder, tangent is y over x, but when we looked at our unit circle, we filled out the tangent, so we have a little bit less work to do. This time we're looking at y over 6 again, so we're still, or not y over 6, pi over 6. So this time we are looking for the tangent, which we filled out. Now if I hadn't filled out the tangent, it would be the y coordinate, which is 1/2, over the x coordinate, which is pi over, or root 3 over 2. The 2's cancel, giving me 1 over root 3. We rationalize, and we get root 3 over 3, which is exactly what we had written on our unit circle. So if the tangents aren't filled out, don't worry, we can always find those tangent values by doing the sine over the cosine, or the y over the x in your coordinate. All right, our next one, we've got cosecant. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, so this is the reciprocal of the y value. And we're getting a little trickier. We've got a negative pi over 6. So I think about, okay, here we've been looking at pi over 6, which is 30 degrees, but I want to go negative 30 degrees, a negative pi over 6, and that's going to put me right here. This is on my unit circle where my location of a negative pi over 6 is. And because I want cosecant, I want the reciprocal of the y value. The y value here is a negative 1/2. So you can think about this as 1 over a negative 1/2, or we think about as the reciprocal. And the reciprocal of a negative 1/2 is a negative 2. You would have to simplify this fraction that we set up over there. I just think that makes things a little bit more complicated. Now we want the secant. Again, the secant is the reciprocal of cosine, or 1 over x. And this time we're looking at 60 degrees. So we're going back to our unit circle. I find 60 degrees right here. And I am looking at my cosine, which is the x coordinate, and I want the reciprocal of that. The reciprocal of 1 over 2 is 2 over 1, which is just 2. We have cotangent of 5 pi over 4. So just as a reminder, cotangent is x over y, or the reciprocal of tangent. This tells me where I'm looking. So there's 2 parts to each of these. Which trig function are we looking at, and which angle are we going to find that trig ratio? So this tells me to look at 5 pi over 4. I go around my unit circle. We should be getting to the point where our unit circle is becoming familiar. We're going to keep on making our unit circle over and over again. But I find 5 pi over 4. That's the location. Cotangent is telling me that I want the reciprocal of tangent. Well, reciprocal of 1 is just 1. That was kind of an easy one. Now I want cosecant. Again, cosecant is 1 over y, or again, the reciprocal of sine. We are looking at pi over 3. So we are going back up here, and we are using pi over 3 again. And we want the reciprocal of sine. My sine is that y value, the y coordinate. I want the reciprocal, and when I do the reciprocal there, it shows me that it is 2 over root 3, but then I need to rationalize. Multiply the top and bottom by root 3, giving me 2 root 3 all over 3. All right, our last one, tangent of pi over 2. We see our pi over 2 right here. We want the tangent. If you remember, tangent is y over x. We're going to do the long way for this one. The y coordinate is 1. The x coordinate is 0. And that is why this has an undefined tangent value. Yes, we had it written. I just wanted to do one more review in case tangents aren't on your circle, that you remember how to find those tangent values. All right, the last part of this is understanding the relationship among these trig functions in each of the quadrants. So first, if I'm looking at quadrant 1 is that right here. And to move into quadrant 1, we are moving to the right and we are moving up. If I'm moving to the right and up, so up tells me that my sine value is going to be positive. Well, cosecant is just the reciprocal of sine, so that's going to be positive as well, and that's because I'm moving up to get to quadrant 1. Cosine is positive, which means secant is positive because secant is just the reciprocal of cosine. Again, that's because I'm moving to the right. So when I'm moving right, x is positive. When I'm moving up, y is positive. Tangent, if you remember, actually we just did it right here, is y over x. So if I'm doing a positive divided by a positive, that means tangent has to be positive. And if tangent's positive, cotangent's positive. So as you're filling out your unit circle, every value in quadrant 1 is going to be positive. All of my x's, all of my y's, all of my tangents. However, when I start moving to quadrant 2, I am moving left and I'm moving up. Because I'm going up, my sine is still positive, and therefore my cosecant is still positive. But I'm going to the left, and because I'm going to the left, now my cosine has changed to negative, and that means that my secant is also going to be negative. Now we think about tangent. Again, tangent is that y over x. So if I have a positive divided by a negative, my tangent and my cotangent are going to be negative. And we can see that in our unit circle over here to the left, all of my x's are negative, all of my y's are positive, and all of my tangents are going to be negative. Now we move down to quadrant 3. When I'm in quadrant 3, I'm going to the left and I'm going down. Because I'm going down, my sine is going to be negative, which means my cosecant is going to be negative. Because I'm going left, my cosine is negative, and my secant is going to be negative. When I go to find my tangent, that means I'm doing a negative divided by a negative. My tangent ends up being positive, so my cotangent is going to be positive. And we can see that again in our unit circle. If I look right over here, all of my x's are negative, all of my y's are negative, and all of my tangents are positive because a negative divided by a negative ends up with that positive value. All right, then in quadrant 4, we're going to the right and we're going down. Because I'm going down, the sine value is negative, making cosecant negative. But now I'm going back to the right, and when I go to the right, cosine is positive and secant is positive. So when I get back to my tangent values, I have a negative divided by a positive, making that tangent negative and the cotangent negative. And again, we can see that relationship in our unit circle. All of the x's are positive, all the y's are negative, and all of my tangents are negative. All right, and that is going to be it for this video.